What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video. We're for another Ring of Honor TV review, the 51st episode, and a very important episode, as this episode is the start of the Women's Television Championship. Women's? Look, I'm just going to say right now, this title has a long-ass name, so I'm going to mess it up several times. It is the start of the Women's Television Championship Tournament. So, throughout the episode, if I just call it the Television Championship, because, spoiler alert, Kyle Fletcher is not involved. So, if I mention the Television Championship on this episode, I'm talking about the Women's Television Championship. So, tonight's episode features the first 4 matches of this tournament, with next week's episode having the final 4 of the first round. There are 16 competitors in this tournament, and the episode kicks off the first matchup of the tournament. Queen Aminata versus J Red. The two exchange chops and slaps after a collar and elbow tie-up. Aminata lands several lariats and kicks, and Aminata lands a running boot into the corner, but could not land a second one, with J Red moving out of the way. J Red did not do anything to recover from this, and Aminata wins the matchup with a headbutt. Later on in the episode, Aminata is interviewed, saying that what does she want to do in Ring of Honor, and what did she have to prove in Ring of Honor, and she just said that she's kind of already proved it by winning the matchup tonight, and that she wants to become the Women's Television Champion to represent her continent of Africa, and that she is wearing gold, and she knows the Television Championship is silver, but it will look just as nice on her. Next matchup is the Infantry versus Ricky Gibson and Eddie Pearl of the Midnight Heat. Dean and Pearl are the first 2 legal competitors, with the Infantry keeping their opponent on their side of the ring until a blind tag to Gibson happens. Eventually, Bravo tags in, hitting a nice drop kick and elbow drop, and the Infantry win the matchup with the boot camp, which is a very important note for later on in the episode. Next match is probably the most anticipating match of the first round of the television tournament. Rachel Ellering versus Legit Layla Hirsch, as these two have kind of been the main people on ROH keeping this Women's Television Championship relevant, as like almost every week that they're interviewed or have any time to talk, they mention that they want to be the first champion, but one of the two will not be able to do that, as they're facing each other in this matchup, or in the tournament, and in the matchup technically. Headlocks and takedowns, as the 2 tag partners are able to match one another early on. This is until they come to blows with a series of forearms. Ellering starts to hold her elbow, and Hirsch starts to target it without knowing that it was injured, and she, every move that she does after it, Ellering's elbow hurts after this, including a nice moonsault by Hirsch, and Ellering is not able to hold her own due to the injury that she suffered, and she does have a roll-up attempt early or later on that was very close to winning the matchup, but did not, and Hirsch does win the match with a running knee. Later on, they reconcile, with Hirsch apologizing because she did not know of Ellering's injury, and they're still buddy-buddy. Now we have an interview, or it's not really an interview, it was a talking segment with Nyla Rose, who is calling out Athena and looking for Athena after Athena's attack last week. And guess what? Athena attacked her again, this time with half of a broken table, which kind of was funny, kind of reminiscent of No Mercy or modern times AEW Fight Forever. It did not matter, as Nyla Rose dominated her, and we will get more between these two later on in the episode. Next matchup is the Outrunners versus Jox Braxton and Ice Williams. Ice and Magnum are the first 2 legal men. It didn't really matter, as the Outrunners dominate the matchup, but they win with a rushing leg sweep big boot combo, which is exactly what the boot camp is. That is the Infantry's finishing maneuver. And funny enough, the Infantry were being interviewed backstage, and they were interrupted by Lee Moriarty, who informed the Infantry that, hey, the Outrunners just hit the boot camp to win their matchup. So I'll go ahead and say it now. Later on in the episode, the Outrunners are confronted by the Infantry, and they're, they say they've been doing this move for, I believe they said 37 years. I'm going to round it and say close to 40 years. And the Outrunners are warned by the Infantry, hey, don't do it again. So we will see what happens between this. Next matchup is an extremely quick matchup between Brian Keith and Slice Boogie. Right when I was getting ready to take notes, the match was quickly over, with Keith winning the match with a cutter off of the second rope. Next matchup is a women's television title tournament match. Trish Adora versus Mercedes Martinez. It's back and forth early until Martinez targets the back of Adora, and I felt that this slowed the match down a lot as Adora was grounded and she couldn't really do much because her back was injured technically. Adora was able to land a splash in the corner and a senton for a 2 count, but Martinez was able to win the matchup with a Dragon's Sleeper. Next matchup is Lance Archer and the Righteous versus John Cruz, JC Valentine, and James Blackheart. Dutch and Valentine are the first 2 legal competitors, with the Righteous quickly cutting off the ring, leading to a dominant performance, and the trio winning with Archer hitting the blackout on Valentine onto Blackheart. And it was kind of funny, blackout, Blackheart, very closely similar in words. It's also weird that Lance Archer is not a member of the Righteous, so I have to specify Archer and the Righteous when they team together. Next matchup is one I'm very excited to talk about, and one that was kind of a genuine surprise when I saw the match graphic. Dalton Castle versus a returning Ring of Honor alumni, Kenny King, who's a multiple-time television champion and a multiple-time tag team champion in Ring of Honor. And, ROH, bring more alumni back. Kind of reminisce about the past. So it was nice to see Kenny King on this edition of ROH. Headlocks between the two start the match off. It's a back-and-forth bout with King missing a dive off of the top rope, but he recovers with a side kick. He attempts to hit a splash into the corner, but Castle catches him and hits a bangarang to pick up the victory. After the matchup, he's been waiting all week, and he wants to know what the hell Johnny TV wants for him to get the matchup. And Johnny TV and Taya Valkyrie come out to the ring. Johnny TV informs him that he wants the boys. And then he walks off, and so we don't know what is going to happen. So for Dalton Castle to face Johnny TV, he might have to give up his boys. So we shall see what happens there. As we come to our main event matchup, another match in the women's television title tournament, Diamante versus Kiera Hogan. Hogan has the advantage early after a super kick into the ropes. Hogan hits a side effect and a running attack in the corner for a 2 count. Diamante baits Hogan to come closer to her, to scratch her into the eyes, and follows this up with a Shiragore for a 2 count. And then Diamante hits a crossroads to pick up the victory, as we have our first 4 winners and people advancing in the women's television title tournament. That being Diamante, her tag partner Mercedes Martinez, Legit Layla Hirsch, and Queen Aminata. I should have wrote down the next 4 matchups that will happen in the first round next week, but guess what? Tune into next week's episode and you'll find out what those are. Before this episode ends, I need to talk about Athena and Nyla Rose some more. Athena is tired of Nyla Rose being able to one-up her, because every time she attacks her or gets attacked by Nyla Rose prevails, and she challenges Nyla Rose to a tables match next week. And the episode ends with Nyla Rose accepting the challenge, but putting a twist on it, and that it will be a 2 out of 3 falls table match. So Athena and Nyla Rose will come to blows in the ring finally in a 2 out of 3 falls tables match. I don't think they said the championship is online, but I would be stupid, and I fully imagine that the championship will be on the line, so I don't know why I said that. So that was it for this week's episode. I will not lie to you. I'm kind of breaking the fourth wall here. I know that they have taped a lot of matches in advance, because this week there's not an episode of Collision, which is normally when they take ROH. I thought this week's episode was going to be extremely long, but it was only an hour and 30 minutes. So if I was to put 2 and 2 together, I'm going to imagine that a lot of the matches that I thought were going to take place this week will take place next week. So we shall see that then. We already know at least 5 matches for the Women's Television Championship Tournament, and Nyla Rose versus Athena in a 2 out of 3 falls match. So tune in next week. Tune in to all my videos. Hopefully you can all stay safe, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.